Welcome to the Torchlight Network. This is Dave Horwedel. The Torchlight Network is doing a series of interviews on business and other professional leaders to find out how they are successfully coping with the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting governmental regulations. Today we have Denise Michaels on the show. Denise is a ghostwriter and a book coach, and she has a firm called International Book Guild Writers. And today's question, Denise, is how are you successfully coping with COVID-19?
I just keep working. I work from home, so I'm not dealing with a lot of the governmental regulations as brick and mortar businesses are doing. But a lot of it is just getting up, every day and being focused and, doing my best for my clients and, keep pumping the marketing out there, keep pumping the product out there. And, keeping my head on straight. My husband and I last month, we took a break and went to California for a few days just to get out of the Las Vegas heat this time of year. But it's just keep going.
Well, all right. Now, how did you originally set up your business and get the people that you needed to do your business with to get your clients?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I wrote a book on marketing for women small business owners that did quite well. It became a business bestseller, sold in 16 countries, translated into Korean and Portuguese. And the funny thing is, after I'd been marketing it for a while, people out of the blue started asking me, Denise, would you help me write my book? And I really thought it was a fluke. Our economy was going bad in Las Vegas and everything. But I thought this is kind of fun. And I just kind of gradually, dipped my toe in, tested the waters. And every time I did, it seemed like there were more people that were interested, especially in someone who's not selling you necessarily a course, but really giving you one-on-one attention and guidance and everything and expertise. And, it took me about 1.5 years before I finally said, okay, I'm making the shift. I got a website now. And just kind of launching myself as this is my main thing now.
When you started doing that book, were you already an expert marketer, or how did that work? How did that come to be?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me questions that go back like 20, 30 years. I have degrees in journalism, English, and business marketing. I have marketed myself for many, many years. I worked with several mega best-selling authors, New York Times best-selling list for pretty much all their books. And I was sort of like a coach that did training courses for this best-selling author's small business program and everything. And I found sort of a niche in marketing that I felt had not been explored before, find a need and fill it, right? And so that resulted in the book that I wrote that took a real different tack than other marketing books that I had seen. And it just did really, really well and just kept going from there.
Well, that's very cool. It just struck me. I was just wondering if you, let's say a person wanted to become an expert in a certain area, maybe they should study up and write a book. But anyway, that was
It happens, because in the process of writing a book, you learn a lot more. I've even had clients I had a client, he finished his book about 1 year ago now, and he was writing a book on marketing in his business niche. And as we kept going along, he said, you know what, I'm getting better at, even though I've been doing what I do for 30 years, I'm getting better at it because through the process of writing, I'm remembering and going back to things that I did that were successful that I just kind of forgot along the way,
Well, very good. Now, one of the purposes of the Torchlight Network is to, assist people out there who are stuck at home and they're experiencing the apathy and the hysteria and everything's black and nothing can be done about it because they're sitting on the couch watching TV too many hours a day. And it doesn't matter what TV you watch or what network, it's bad. It's always bad. So, and they get depressed and they just sit at home. So a lot of these people, I would like to see them, we're trying to get some data. Maybe someone will get an idea and break out. So one question I have is, how can writing a book benefit your business?
Oh gosh, it's okay. It It's not for every business. I want to say that straight up front. My ideal client is somebody that I call a wisdom professional, and they are a person who earns their income selling their wisdom and their expertise. So that could be a business consultant, a coach, a therapist, a doctor, a personal trainer, somebody who's an expert in health and wellness in some way. I have a client, we finished his book about a year ago, and he's an expert in HR, human resources. And he has this cute little thing on his website that says, if you have a horrible boss, send him an anonymous copy of my book. Well, he got a request to send one out, and it went to the CEO of a very large Fortune 500 company. And about a week after he sent it out, he actually called the guy, got on the phone with him, and 2 weeks later, he had a $200,000 account with this company.
Wow.
So, it's like the book itself. Do you make a ton of money? I made money on the book. Yes, it was profitable. It certainly wasn't enough to live on. It's all the things that happen as a result of having a book that makes it worthwhile for your business.
Very good. Now, like I'm a tax professional. I represent people before the IRS. I settle debt, and I have a lot of tax expertise. Would a book be something that I should do?
Maybe, the only thing that makes me a little nervous about it is that tax laws are constantly changing, and you want to write a book that can be somewhat what we call evergreen. I mean, that means it's not changing a whole heck of a lot. I can look back at my book, which was written in 2005, and so that's a long time ago, and almost everything in it is still pertinent today. The only thing I didn't address as much as I would if I were writing it today is the impact of social media, because that was pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram, pre-Twitter days. I was on social media back when they called it user groups. But I mean, maybe something generally like how to deal with the IRS without freaking out, and they don't necessarily have to know, you don't have to tell them like all the minutia of the laws, because there's a good possibility it might change next year.
Well, here's what I was thinking, and this might apply to people looking in, but I understand from my study of SEO and a guru named Neil Patel that one thing you want to do when you put out, to have a good blog and to pull in people, you got to have a really definitive guide to something, and like a lot of detail. And writing a book is one you could do chapter by chapter of your book as a blog. And then, and this is going to be bringing traffic to my website. It can be used to be sent out on social media piece by piece. And then at the end, I throw it into a book. And, truly, having been a tax professional for a while, it's not changing as much as people think. The basics of settling with the IRS have changed very little. Now, the little tax deduction here and tax deduction there, some of these things change, but there are people out there that have a large IRS debt. I can get out of it, and I could have done the same thing 10 years ago. Very little different, but anyway, that's an interesting thing for me.
Yeah, then that's the stuff you write about. But I will warn you that people who think, oh, I've been doing this blog for a couple of years now, I'm just going to copy and paste and call it a book. No. Because the format, structure, and organization of a book is very different from a blog. So, I've helped several people over the last few years who had blogged for quite a while. And it took maybe 20% less work than somebody who's just starting from scratch. But, it's not like it's just a slam dunk. Okay, I'll just copy and paste and I have a book. So
I have a
there's more
question
to it
for
than
you,
that.
because I hear what you're saying. However, I believe there are some people who write a book. In fact, I think it was the New Rules of Marketing and PR may have started out as a blog, that book. I don't know if you've read that book. But
yeah,
if you write a book, but do it in steps as a blog and get the response and edit it, you can do it somewhat like that. That was kind of the idea that I was curious about. Would that be? But maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that. But if one wanted to go about writing a book,
I don't want to discourage you from using stuff you've written in a blog, because it can be great content. Okay, I'm just saying there's more than just like, okay, I'm going to take half an hour, copy and paste it, and I have a book.
Now, my question is, what if you write a book and publish it chapter by chapter as a blog? Is that a good idea?
Some people have done that. I know Stephen King, did that. I can't remember the title of the book, but he sent it out chapter by chapter. And, you got to say he's a pretty successful writer. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Right. Yeah, there are people who do that. I've never done that before, but I know people have done it. So
if a business person wanted to write a book, what advice would you give him? How would you tell him to get started? What should he study? Or should he just call you up and ask you how to do it? What do you recommend?
Well, first he should call me, and then I'm going to ask him a lot of questions, okay? And one of the questions I'm going to ask is, what is one of the problems that you love helping people solve, that you could talk about it all day and all night, and there seems to be a real demand for it? Because when you can get the answer to that question, you're starting to hone in on your book topic, rather than say business book, because, you have to like really drill down and niche and be specific in this day and age. So for example, the gentleman, I wrote a book about HR, or one about not just marketing, but like a specific arena of branding, maybe branding for real estate agents or something like that. But it starts with, kind of find a need and fill it.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. Now, is there anything else a person who wants to, I think you do books for business people or for just for people who want to write a book. Is there anything else a person who wants to do that you would recommend? And also, I'm curious, I'm asking two questions at once, was it maybe not right, but how ghostwriting works. How do you do that?
Okay. So ghostwriting, it's funny because I gave a talk in my little weekly networking group locally here in Las Vegas earlier today. And ghostwriting clients are a little bit different. Number one, they need to have more money because it's a lot more of my time to do it, or anybody's time to ghostwrite. But ghostwriting clients are people that generally hate to write. Okay. They do not see writing as the highest and best use of their time, although they recognize and respect the power of books, if that makes any sense, right? And they're great delegators. I don't know, maybe I said that before. They're great delegators. And yeah, they're able to put a project in somebody's hands. I do a lot of collaboration with my ghostwriting clients, because before I started working on the book on HR, I didn't know anything about HR. I know a lot now from, working with this guy, but I mean, I wouldn't even go into a corporation and say, gee, I'm applying for a position as an HR manager, right? But there's a lot of collaboration involved. I'm usually meeting with them about every week to 10 days on the phone. And, in the process, it's like I build the same foundation of the book I do with my coaching clients, except I'm doing it for them rather than just giving instruction on how they can do it. And then once I have an outline, I call, we have this meeting, the call is recorded, and I ask them a lot of questions. I'm like dragging stuff out of them, and then I take it and transcribe it, and then that's where the real work starts after it's been transcribed, is turning it into a book chapter. And I do that again and again and again until they have a finished book.
All right. And let's see, just out of curiosity, do you use a special program to correct the grammar and everything, or is there anything you use for that?
Well, I'm pretty good speller. I mean, I use Microsoft Word editor, and when I'm online, I have something called Grammarly. Grammarly is great for like social media and emails, correcting grammar and spelling and things like that. And I do that because I'm in a rush like everybody else, but I don't know of anything in addition to Microsoft Editor that works on when you're offline.
All right, very good.
So,
and who should you, let's say somebody's out there, they're looking at this, and you obviously you're a ghostwriter, and you coach people on writing books and so on and so forth. So who out there, if they're watching this, do you think would be interested? Who should contact you if they're looking at this and wondering, like, well, who are you looking to be in communication with?
It's not the person who says, someday it would be nice to write a book. It's the person who says, doggone it, I got to get this book out. I got people asking me every week, almost every day, when are you going to come out with your book? I have got to figure out a way to get this done. Those are the ones. And like I mentioned before, the wisdom professionals, the people who sell their expertise and experience.
Very good. And can you give me an example of the success story or two of people that contacted you, they got their book out, and what happened?
Well, one example is somebody who has done pretty close to nothing to market it. The guy with the HR book, that he ended up getting a 6-figure contract with a big company, Fortune 500. But I have had clients. I had a client who got on Good Morning America. That was great. For all of them, when they come to me, they're like, Denise, I don't see this as a New York Times bestseller or anything. I just want to get more business out of it, right? I just want to get more business out of it. And I know that for every one of them, they have been successful in doing that. And like many times over, reaped what they invested in getting it done.
Well, that sounds great. So do you have anything else you'd like our viewers to know about, or have we completed this interview?
Well, one thing I would add, Dave, is that right now it seems like, you began the interview telling me, about people who are frustrated and pulling their hair out and everything. It's like, think about if you're a business owner and you're frustrated, we're living in a new world now. And the ideas that you kind of like put off to the side 6 months ago because the economy was so great and you were doing so much business, now is the time to look at innovative ideas. And for those people who think nobody buys books anymore, sales of books during this pandemic have gone up 30%. Not to be outdone by sales of pasta makers and bread makers that have gone up 500%, but I mean, and Investors Business Daily said between 2018 and 2019, book sales went up 3%, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a 600-year-old product category, that's not bad.
Well, that's great. And I really appreciate the, what this can do. And it's one of the things I want to comment on. I have a personal philosophy that when you run into a barrier, there's also a freedom that comes with it. It's life is a game. It's composed of purposes, barriers, and freedoms. And a door opens, the door closes. So if a guy is sitting there and his business is slowed down, well, what better time to write a book and build up your business again? And I also think personally, as you're writing the book, and if you're a business person, which is my orientation, while you're writing the book, you're probably going to have some great promo ideas, and you'll probably will throw some stuff out in a blog or whatever. So anyway,
Right.
Now if a person is interested and they want to contact you, tell me how they go about reaching you.
Okay, so I am Denise M. Marie, but it's just M. Michaels. My business is International Book Writing Guild. My website, you can go, the long address is internationalbookwritingguild.com. The short one is just ibwguild.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn almost every day, and Facebook as well under the same name, Denise M. Michaels in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.